Hello everyone, I'm Brian and today I'm going to be reacting to IIT is equal to Harvard, Princeton, and MIT universities put together. So this is a request by someone told me, says give a reaction to this video. It tells you what the cost behind Indian people to become the CEO of big corporation giants. Well, I can already tell you the answer to that. They work hard, they're smart, and they don't joke around. Asians in general. But yes, but it seems like, yeah. It's those three things. Again, very smart, they're hard workers, and they don't joke around when it comes to the education and finding a job. Not like Americans. Now, again, not every Indian and not every American, not every Indian, not every Asian. But generally speaking, though, I do notice that Asian families tend to push their children for schooling like really hard compared to American families. American families, they tend to be a little bit lenient. There are some families that push their children, but not as hard as Asians do. Not all Asians again, but that's what I've noticed personally, and what I've also seen on YouTube. One channel that I watched was either Japanese or South Korean, and they were going to do the SAT test. And before I even watched it, I knew for them it was going to be a joke, just because of how hard Asian schools are. And yeah, whenever it came up, they're like, it almost felt like they're saying, "Yeah, I learned this in third grade. How is this hard?" No, but it didn't say that, but it was easy to them. And our tests over here in the United States are hard to Americans, but if you've had education elsewhere, well, in Asia, I guess the only thing I don't know about Europe, but in Asia, it is quite difficult over there, and schooling is very much pushed. Anyways, I don't know how I'm gonna rant because I guess schooling with this thing here. And anyway, this is a request. I guess it talks about my actual reaction to my poor reaction to India, the rise superpower reaction. India, the rising superpower. Um, I think there was a cultural miscommunication in that video, but I'm not going to go into it unless you guys want me to. And but anyways, let's go ahead and watch this video. And I'm going to be pausing it, and there'll be a link in the description. Just because they definitely deserve the view. 60 minutes.
The United States imports oil from Saudi Arabia, cars from Japan, TVs from Korea, and whiskey from Scotland.
I'm sorry. You know what? That is kind of weird. And I was thinking this whenever she's saying that. Uh, Cars from Japan. Well, Toyota is actually a very high quality car over here. It retains its value. So yeah, okay. Korea TVs. I don't remember. No, Sony is actually in Japan. So, but Samsung. I wonder what year was this made now. It looks so potato-ish. But Samsung from South Korea, Samsung is a massive company and they make good TVs. But in the past, it's actually Sony, which I think they're Japanese. So I'm assuming she's talking about Samsung here. The others.
So what do we import from India? We import people, really smart people. And as you're about to see, the smartest, most successful, most influential Indians who've migrated to the U.S. seem to share a common credential. They're graduates of the Indian Institute of Technology, better known as IIT. Made up of 7 campuses throughout India, IIT may be the most important university you've never heard of. This is IIT Bombay. Put Harvard, MIT, and Princeton together, and you begin to get an idea of the status of this school in India.
You compute the capacity of the column.
IIT is dedicated to producing world-class chemical, electrical, and computer engineers.
And then you plug this back in and you...
With a curriculum that may be the most rigorous in the world.
And I bet you they probably have a lot better teachers too.
Just outside the campus gates, the slums, congestion, and chaos of Bombay are overwhelming. Inside, it's quiet and uncrowded, and by Indian standards, very well equipped. Getting here is the fervent dream of nearly every schoolboy.
I was wondering, yeah, so if that is in fact like, like the Princetons or whatever, I'm wondering, do they have like, I guess like people applying? Do you apply to this and then you get a letter of acceptance or decline? I'm guessing there's got to be some kind of standard, maybe like you have to get, and like in I've heard I've never applied to this other places over here in the United States like Princeton and whatnot, but you have to have like extracurricular activities. Like I don't know what those things are. I know there's extra stuff that you do outside of schooling that you do for the school, I do believe. I never did those clearly, and you have to like get straight A's. I don't know what the requirements are, but I know it's like you basically have to dedicate your life to schools to get into Princeton and stuff. So I'm assuming, is that the same requirements here? What are the requirements to get in? Maybe they'll explain it, maybe not. That's just a question I just happened to come up with at the time.
Population of over 1 billion people in India, competition to get into the IITs is ferocious. Last year, 178,000 high school seniors took the entrance exam called the JEE. Just over 3,500 were accepted, or less than 2%. Compare that with Harvard, say, which accepts about 10% of its applicants.
Well, I will say, okay, so I will say this. It depends on how many students you can accept at a time. So if you can accept 1 million students, then did she say 1 million people who applied? Then obviously you can accept 1 million students. So it depends on the campus size. So that can be a little bit misleading. I don't know how big Harvard is. Like if Harvard and this campus can accept the same number of students, then yes, IIT definitely has a very rigid, good lord, I can't say that word, a very difficult entry exam. I'm sure it's definitely no joke, for sure. None of these schools are.
These probably are the hardest school in the world to get into.
In the whole world.
To the best of my knowledge.
Vinod
I
Khosla
wouldn't
got
doubt
into
that.
IIT about 30 years ago.
Like I said, Asian schools are very tough.
After
compared to
graduating, he
American.
came to the U.S., co-founded Sun Microsystems, and became one of Silicon
familiar with
Valley's
that.
most important venture capitalists. He's one of thousands of IIT graduates who've made it big in the U.S. How significant would you say the impact of IIT graduates has been on the American technology revolution?
It's far greater than most people realize. Microsoft, Intel, PCs, Sun Microsystems, you name it. I can't imagine a major area where Indian IIT engineers haven't played a leading role.
Leading role.
A leading role, and of course the American consumer in the American business, in the end, is the beneficiary of that.
It isn't just high tech. The head of the giant consulting firm McKinsey & Company is an IIT grad. So is the vice chairman of Citigroup and the former CEO of U.S. Airways. Fortune 500 headhunters are always on the lookout for that IIT degree.
Well, there was someone in the comment section that I used to talk to who was actually getting into I can't remember what it was, but he was getting into the technology field. I'm wondering if you happen to be watching this. I'm sorry, I can't remember the name, but I remember us talking about it, and you were getting into it. Are you in this? It's going to be difficult for sure. I think you're already in college, though, so I don't know if you're in this or not.
They are favored over almost anybody else. If you're WASP walking in for a job, you wouldn't have as much pre-assigned credibility as you do if you're an engineer from IIT.
I'm wondering if there's, because of this bias that we all have, again, the bias towards Asians, they're hardworking, very smart, dedicated to their work, whereas Americans, there's a mix. There's Americans who just work, but then again, when you're in MIT and all that, you're considered to be a hard worker. But I do believe there's a more positive bias towards Asians about being harder workers than Americans.
90% of IIT
That's my belief, by the way. I definitely could be wrong.
students are male. And the young men we met in Bombay know they're hot.
Sorry.
You do if you're an engineer from IIT.
90% of IIT students are male. And the young men we met in Bombay know they're hot commodities. The American companies love the kids from IIT.
Thank goodness. That's what we heard. That's what we heard too. After I leave IIT Bombay, I hope to get a good job.
So it can be a ticket to another way of life.
Yeah, definitely.
And a ticket out of India.
That is kind of sad to me. I mean, don't get me wrong, I can't blame them for wanting a better life for themselves and even for their families. I remember hearing some time ago that, you know, America imports a lot of people into the country. Last statistics I heard is like 1 million people every year, and I'm hoping they don't just pick the finest and brightest, even though that's what you want. But it's a little unfair to start pulling out the bright minds from other countries and bring them into your own country, because sometimes they're needed there in their home country to hopefully develop their country and to bring it out of poverty or to bring it into a prosperous nation, you know. So it's two ways, you know. I definitely can't blame them for leaving. I left my home country to come over here. Honestly, didn't want to come over here. I thought this place was, never mind, I won't say what I thought about this place. Anyways, but you know, I can't blame them for that, and I hope that whatever they do over here, they can raise the world up, bring everyone up out of poverty, or bring everyone up to a very good standard of living. Well, I can't say what my people do. I might give away where I'm from.
How
So.
many of you think that you're going to end up in the United States?
For a while, I think all of us would be there. Maybe
At
for
some
work.
stage.
At some stage.
That's not the way it was supposed to be.
I want my country to be strong.
Nehru, India's first prime minister, created IIT 50 years ago, just after independence, to train the scientists and engineers he knew the nation would need to move from medieval to modern.
And that's what I was saying. You know, again, I can't blame them for wanting a better life for themselves and their families. And I wish they could do that in their home country. I'm sure nowadays you can. I mean, from what I've heard from India, it is booming over there. So a good thing is now maybe, you know, it becomes more difficult for American companies to hire people from India because they want to stay in their home country, want to bring up the home country, and also it's more prosperous in the home country.
He never imagined India would be supplying brain power to the whole world.
Well, yeah. Sorry. My country also does that. We're an exporter of labor.
Would you say that IIT graduates are India's most valuable export?
Yes, undoubtedly.
N. Ram, one of India's leading journalists, says that because the stakes are so high, a kid starts preparing early.
Age 7, 8, 10. By the 10, you know
Yeah,
whether you're made for it or not.
Like I said, in Asia, man, they push their kids really for school to learn. That's a different, like, it's a cultural thing, and it seems like in Asian countries, in America, it's not culturally like that. There's some people that believe that they use schools for babysitting because parents gotta work, someone has to watch the kids, ship them to school, which is kind of sad, really.
Is it the truth or not?
And at least half of these 10-year-olds told us they think they're made for it. But just standing out in school won't be enough.
There we go. So requirements.
At about 16, they enroll in a prep class where they're drilled for the IIT entrance exam. There are even pre-dawn tutoring classes.
4:30 to about 8, they're grilled, and then they go to school.
4:30 to
Regular
8.
school.
Regular school.
4:30 to 8 a.m.
Yes.
Are you saying they do that every day?
Yes, every day
7 days a
for
week.
that period.
2
Particularly
years.
2 years. Classes 11 and 12. You do nothing but study.
And parents hover and push and fret.
I normally stay up all night and study for my
I called it. I mean, it should be kind of known. I would think most people know this.
exams.
I'm assuming.
So during this preparation, my mother never used to let me prepare my own cup of tea.
So if you stayed up all night, she stayed up all
used
night to make your
stay up
tea?
with me. Yeah.
After years of preparation,
And that's the thing that's kind of lacking, is the support from parents. I mean, I'm not saying, again, I'm not talking about every single American, but there are a lot of families out there like that in America that just, I don't know, I guess let their kid do whatever they want. instead of encouraging them to do better in school or to kind of help them out a little bit. I mean, again, not all Americans, but that's really, again, like I said, it's a very much of a cultural thing, and very much Asia. Families really support their kids, really push their kids, and will do a lot of things for their kids to give them a better life.
The day they and their families believe will make or break the future finally arrives.
On the day of the exam, my dad, my mom, and my younger brother, they all accompanied me
Dang,
to the center.
that's dedication.
I said, okay, now you can leave. I'll come home on my own. But I was literally amazed when I came back out of the center, and see my parents and brother still waiting for me outside the center.
I will say, probably in America, it's like, oh yeah, just call me whenever you're done. I'm gonna go shopping. Good luck, by the way.
How many hours?
It was close to 6 hours.
6 hours of
Oh,
testing,
6, okay.
then an
Ooh,
excruciating
my God.
month-long wait for the results.
They put them up on the web, and you can call
Phone,
them
you
up,
can call them.
and after 10 days you get a letter. So
But
that's-
it's on the web, so everybody knows.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You never
Oh.
get your marks.
You just
Nobody
get your
knows.
All India rank.
You just get your rank.
Rank, so you first, second, third in the country.
Right.
Yeah. So it goes from
So
1 to
everybody
1 to
knows.
3,000 roughly.
So if you were 2,999, everybody knows.
Everybody knows, and you're considered really lucky.
Oh,
The top
oh yeah,
rankers
I guess
get their
that's true.
photographs in the paper and all. So.
The high ranks.
Just to be able to take the test, even though you're the last one, this is the sheer fact that you're accepted to take the test, I think, right, is a big deal, because not everyone is capable of taking a test.
High
Yes,
ranks,
he's one of
Of
them.
course. You were one of them?
yeah, somewhat, yeah.
What number?
I was 196.
So you
Wow.
get your picture in the paper?
Oh, yeah.
The ranking isn't just an ego trip. The top kids get to choose which campus they want and which major.
It's a big deal in India. It is.
Narayana Murthy, founder of the huge software company Infosys, is known as the Bill Gates of India.
It's very easy to lose hope in this country. It's very easy to set your aspirations low in this country. But amidst all this competition among high-quality students, this institution of IIT sets your aspirations much higher.
Now what about your own son?
Well, my son, he probably wanted to do computer science at IIT. To do computer science at IIT, you have to be in top 200. And he couldn't do that, so he went to Cornell instead.
Think about that for a minute.
That's kind of, it's like the top tier schools in America. It's like you know, the participation trophies. I hope everyone understands how I'm saying all this, because basically it's to say that American schools aren't the gold medal, the platinum medal, well, gold, silver, or bronze medal. It's the participation trophies. That's how the American schools are ranking towards, compared to, say, an Indian school here.
Kid from India using an Ivy League university as a safety school.
Yeah.
That's how smart these guys are.
I do know cases where students who couldn't get into computer science at IITs, they have gotten scholarship at MIT, at Princeton, at Caltech. Yes, sure.
I will say, I've heard, I keep up with the political sphere a little bit, even though it's a freaking mess in the United States. I've heard, what was it, in certain high-end schools like MIT and stuff, I don't know which one, it's been a while since I watched this one, but they are there's this project to help out minorities in America, because minorities are generally the one that's struggling compared to white people. But in these Ivy League schools, they're actually keeping out Asians, because even though Asians are more of a minority than every other race, I believe. I don't know if they're more of a minority than Hispanics are or not. So it's whites, blacks, maybe Hispanics and Asians. I can't remember the figure on that one. But there's programs out there to help out the minorities in America. Again, you have to definitely fact check me on this one, but they've actually kept out Asians because so many of them are actually displacing everyone else in these Ivy League schools. So they had to decline Asians that are very much capable, who passed the test with flying colors, to let other people into this school that, you know, pass the test. That's so. And these programs are supposed to be anti-racist, or whatever, but it's so weird that, I don't know, it's supposed to help out minorities, but it's not helping out Asians. Let's continue on.
You wouldn't mistake this for MIT or Caltech. It's the final exam of metal fabrication class required for every IIT freshman. Call it shop class on steroids. Using just a saw and a file, students have to cut quarter-inch steel into an assigned shape, measured to the millimeter.
Dang.
It's an illustration of IIT's emphasis on engineering basics, precision, and discipline.
We kind of have something similar to that in the United States. It's, I forgot what kind of college it is, or schooling it is. It goes straight to practical work as opposed to studying and stuff.
Nobody majors in music at IIT. The education is not well-rounded. But in science and technology, IIT undergraduates leave their American counterparts in the dust.
When I finished IIT Delhi and went to Carnegie Mellon for my master's, I thought I was cruising all the way through Carnegie Mellon because it was so easy relative to the education I had gotten at IIT Delhi.
If you think
it goes with the explanation of about the Japanese or South Koreans when they took the SATs. Yeah, Asians coming over here taking the hard joke. The tests over here are a joke compared to Asian tests.
of engineering students as nerds, not particularly bold or creative, IIT somehow breaks the mold. It turns computer geeks into risk takers and leaders.
I'm wondering why so many IIT graduates are entrepreneurs. Why so many do start their own companies.
I think it's because of the confidence. We are lucky enough to be told by people around us that we're good and that we have a bright future, and that gives us a lot of confidence.
There's something else. Students act like entrepreneurs the whole time they're at IIT.
Oh no, copyrighted
They
music.
run everything in the dorms, which might be mistaken for cell blocks if not for all the Pentium 4 PCs. They organize
Pentium 4s? Wait, that's like a long time ago. Is this that old, or do they just have old computers? I don't know. I don't know if the video recording of this is back then or whether they just have old computers.
the sports themselves. They even hire the chefs and pick the food in the mess halls. And unlike so many other institutions in India, they all know they're here because they deserve to be here.
Wait, is that?
Can you slip somebody a couple of rupees and say, come on, get my son in?
Of course, they're gonna say no to that one, and obviously not the culture there is never to be bribed, and Asian cultures typically. But are you allowed to? Is that his own personal thing? It's kind of weird for him to drink straight from that. I figured you pour it in a cup, but that if that's his own personal thing, man, chug it.
No, never.
Impossible?
Impossible. Impossible. There is no corruption. It's a pure meritocracy.
I'm sorry about this, but all humans are corruptible. I'm not saying there's corrupted people in this, but to say that people are uncorruptible is it's not my reality, but it's a reality that people are corruptible. But I hope that our institutions can keep the corruption out. Can't say much for American institution because I don't really keep up with the politics and stuff. But it's not too hard to believe because I believe in at least this one is again it's that very strong cultural pride that keeps corruption out.
IIT may also be one of the best educational bargains in the world. It costs a family just about $700 a year for room, board, and tuition.
That is, wait, is that rupees or US dollars?
That's less than 20% of the true cost. The Indian government subsidizes all the rest. While some IIT grads stay and have helped build India's flourishing high-tech sector, almost 2/3, up to 2,000 people leave every year, most for the U.S.
So $700 a year, that's pretty cheap compared to US schooling, obviously. But then again, I don't know when this was made and you have to adjust for inflation and if the prices has changed since then.
Some people would say you're subsidizing factories which produce largely for the higher end of the American employment market.
So there's this debate here that says, why are we spending so much money to educate these brilliant young men who just leave?
That is... Wow, yeah. Well, being subsidized by the government, that is something to think about. If they paid for it with their own money, then they can do whatever they want. But when you're being subsidized by the people, the taxes of the people, you kind of, I would assume you kind of owe it to your people to return uh, the investment to them as well.
You don't have to be crudely nationalistic to raise this question. There's a need here, there's a demand here, and these guys are simply not available.
How many of them ever come back?
Very small percentage. But my view is that we also have to work harder here to make it attractive for them to come back.
Yeah.
Murty is doing his part. His software company, Infosys, hires about 150 IIT graduates every year to stay and work in India.
But does he exclusively hire from IIT? That kind of limits, like, people who cannot get into IIT. What about them, you know? I'm hoping that's just a limit that he hires from IIT and hires other people who could not make it there, didn't qualify, or couldn't afford it. Because in something I've talked with my friend about, and that was in his channel, you know, having money really helps, and it really does. If you're really poor, you're kind of hindered to be able to go to better schools and stuff. So I hope he also hires other people that are not in IIT.
He says the brain drain doesn't worry him.
Sure, Nehru wanted all these young men and women to contribute to the success of India, and they are contributing to the success of India in some way, because today the respect for the Indian professional is much higher in the United States than what it was in the 50s.
But does that translate into investment money coming into India?
Some of these people who have reached the higher echelons in the corporate world in the US, you know, they have persuaded their corporations to start operations in India, whether it's Texas Instruments, whether it's General Electric, whether it's Citibank.
So it does mean investment back here.
Oh yes, it does mean.
I have no question that India now is benefiting significantly from the cycling of knowledge, the back and forth, no question about it.
And individual IIT grads are sending lots of money back home, too. But the U.S. still gets the better end of the bargain.
How many jobs have entrepreneurs, Indian entrepreneurs in Silicon Valley created over the last 15, 20 years? Hundreds of thousands, I would guess.
For this society.
For this society here in America. For America to be able to pick off this human capital, these well-trained engineers with great minds, is a great deal.
Okay, so that was it. All right, so I was right about a lot of things. I mean, it was kind of obvious to me. I already understood a lot of that, but I never heard of IIT. And yeah, again, to think, I mean, Asian institution colleges and stuff are definitely much harder. And again, the cultural thing about parents pushing the students, and whether the students want to or not, because again, it's not to say all Asians, but I'm sure there are some students that I've heard some personally that didn't really want to do, but they're glad that their parents pushed them to do it because they got better jobs, better living, and everything. Again, about the import of people from Asian countries to the United States. A lot of people are wanting to come to the United States for opportunity and all that. And much like some of the fears that some of these Indian people have about, their the brain drain, as that one guy said. Yeah, it's again, I'm not on one side or another on that, because I can't blame them for wanting a better life, and at the same time, it'd be nice if they could help out their country, and according to him, there are some that do, and that's great. I'm not saying that well, it kind of does seem like they owe their country a little bit because they help them get the government funding. So $700, and then everything's subsidized by the government. At that point, you do kind of owe the people, because I'm assuming over there they're collecting taxes. The government's collecting taxes, and those taxes are going towards these students. So in a sense, I would feel that you kind of owe your at least your people or your government or your country a little bit of something, and maybe they are doing it. I just don't know. Again, this is the only thing I heard from this, is that what they're saying. I don't know whether they're in fact sending money back. I'm sure they are, or what else they're doing. Yeah. So I guess that's might be all that I have to say. I reacted as I thought I had some thoughts in my mind, and I said it. And let me know if I said anything wrong or right or whatever in the comments. I do read them. I try to read them. It's just been a lot of comments lately, and been a lot of things been going on in life, so it's been kind of hard, and I've been meaning to catch up with the comments, but there's so many, and I'm trying to. So please be patient if I can reply to your comment. At the very least, I'll give you a thumbs up and a heart. But yes. Alright, so that's my reaction to IIT is equal to Harvard, Princeton, and MIT universities put together. If you like my content, please consider subscribing. Thumbs up, thumbs down below. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next vid.